Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. Restoring water service is our top priority, along with protecting water quality for every resident. We know this outage has been extremely disruptive for families, businesses, and schools. As repairs continue on the 36-inch water main, we continue to make steady progress. 2 days ago, approximately 38,000 customer connections, or about 100,000 people, were out of water. Today, that number has been reduced to approximately 8,000 connections and 24,000 people. So we are happy to report 30,000 connections now have water service with adequate pressure. Repairing the 36-inch water main has been challenging, primarily due to the need to fully dewater the area before crews could safely access the pipe. Last night, we successfully isolated and removed the damaged section of pipe. Today, crews are installing and welding the new pipe segment. Once that is complete, we'll transition from repairing to restoring service for our customers. Repressurizing the system must be done slowly and carefully to avoid additional breaks. If conditions remain favorable, we expect service restoration to begin overnight. Even after water service is restored, the boil water notice will remain in effect for the entire impacted area. Preliminarily, laboratory results from samples collected yesterday in certain locations are encouraging. However, we must follow Texas Commission on Environmental Quality requirements and complete all required testing steps before the notice can be lifted. At this time, the entire affected area remains under a boil water notice. To explain why the notice is necessary and how to ensure water safety, I'd like to introduce Ruben Rodriguez, our Chief Water Quality Compliance Officer, to further explain this.
Thank you, sir. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So there's been a little bit of confusion as to why we had to issue a boil water notice after a main break, and I'd like to explain that a little bit. So whenever a main break happens, water pressure can drop, right? So there is an intrusion into the pipe, and when that pressure is lost, that can lead to groundwater, soil, sediment, other debris going into the pipe. This process is known as intrusion, as I mentioned, or also backflow. During repairs, pipes are exposed to the environment, right? So there's gonna be equipment and materials that come into contact with water in the system. Sediments inside the pipe can also be disrupted, and those things can lead to a reduction in chlorine in the water itself. So chlorine, again, just as a reminder, is the disinfectant that we use in our system to keep the water safe. So once repairs are complete, though, we must continue to verify the safety of the water supply, and there's certain actions that we must take after the repairs have been completed. First, we're gonna slowly restore the system and the pressure throughout the system. And that takes a little bit of time, so we're asking for people to just have patience with that while we restore pressure throughout the system. Next, we're gonna have to flush the system. We're gonna go to hydrants, so people are gonna see our crews out there flushing hydrants. It's a necessary thing that we must do. We know we have, levels in the tanks are a little bit low, but this is something that we need to take care of as well to ensure that all that debris is removed from the system and all that sediment as well, and get the chlorine levels back to where they need. We're also gonna, as Mr. Trejo mentioned, we're gonna collect a lot of samples throughout the affected areas. These samples are tested for total coliform bacteria. Specifically, we want to test for E. coli in the water as well. These are done through state and EPA certified laboratories and through procedures that we follow in our own laboratory here at El Paso Water. The samples, as Mr. Trejo mentioned yesterday, were encouraging. We're having very good results, but we need to continue to test throughout before we lift the notice. That's one of the requirements we have to do, and one of the things that obviously we want to do as a utility to ensure water quality safety. I do want to stress that the boil water notice itself does not indicate that the water was contaminated. Okay, that's something that we must take as a precaution. That's something that TCQ requires. And that's something that we also want to do to reduce potential risk. So boiling is the safest temporary way of doing that until the tests confirm that the water is safe to drink. This process really cannot be rushed. It's something that we have to take our time in doing. because water quality is absolutely our priority.